and welcome to Inks and Issues, a podcast where we do in-depth discussions on a single comic book. I am the Condiment King, Jonah Gregory. With me, as always, my co-host, Kieran Bennett.
Hi, my name's Kieran Bennett, and if I'm going to die on a day, it'll be International Pie Day.
That's a good choice. And today we have a very special guest because the book we're talking about is one of her personal favorites, and that is my wife, Brittany Gregory.
My wife!
Hey, I've never gotten to do that stupid joke. I mean, you've been on before, great. But I never thought to do it.
It's great.
So.
Hi, I'm Brittany, your favorite waifu.
There you go. And today we're going to be talking about the Jeph Loeb, Tim Sale collaboration, Batman, The Long Halloween. And I would say that we have a little bit of history with this book.
Just a bit.
Because I think this is one of the ones that really cinched you liking superhero comics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing that cinched me liking comics.
At all?
At all. I mean,
okay.
I don't know I couldn't tell you what my first comic book is because I honestly don't remember. I just know this one has been like my all-time favorite for a very long time.
So this was your, they went from, these are okay, to, oh, I actually really like these things.
This is the reason Batman's my favorite character ever.
That's fair. So, I was going to ask if you'd been reading anything cool, but I already know pre-show that we talked about how we've both been struggling to get through everything for the show because we have a bunch of, for whatever dumb reason, we decided to pick a bunch of super long things to record, right in a row.
Why did we do that?
I don't know what we were thinking.
It kind of reminds me of when we decided to do over 100 chapters of Naruto straight off the back of doing one of DC's biggest crossovers in the last 2 years.
Yeah. We're really good at planning.
Super good.
Yes. And we did want to say before we get too far into it that welcome to any new listeners who have found us through Geekly Inc. because we're very excited to say we are officially now part of the Geekly Inc. Family of podcasts. So
yeah.
This is the first one we're recording since that has become a thing. So that's why if you've been listening to the last few, we didn't really mention it because we didn't know.
Yeah, we're super, super excited to be part of the Geekly Inc. Obviously, we've been very big fans of many of the podcasts on the network and a lot of the people who are involved in that network. So we're super, super proud to be part of what those guys are making. So thanks for having us.
Yes, it's I'm very excited. It's like a reunion for me because, since I used to be a regular Sayer writer, and so I was a little more involved back in the day, but it's been a bit, so I'm very, very excited to be back. So, and this time it's me talking, so that's the big difference. And I don't have to write the stuff; I just have to read it and talk about it, and that's a lot easier than writing. I can tell you what.
I hear you.
So why don't we jump right in? Because this is a big book. It's 13 chapters. So
this is a thick lad.
Yeah, it's a very, very quick read in a lot of ways, even though it's really long. I sat down and read it all in one sitting out of necessity, but I could have easily done that had it not been. So,
it's part of the big boys club.
Yeah. So Kieran, do you have some fun facts before we jump in?
I do have some fun facts. I mean, not really fun facts, but they're pretty good. So Batman The Long Halloween originally came out all the way back in 1996 and also 1997 being 13 issues. It stretched over quite a while. And in case anyone was wondering, when this came out, I was 3.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah. So you were actually a baby.
96 and 97 is when my parents got divorced.
I was in...
I don't remember a whole lot of that year.
Yeah. I was 16, so...
You were 16.
So of the three of us, you're the only one who could have bought this in issue form.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the periods where I wasn't really into comics anymore because the friend I read comics with and I kind of had a falling out. So I kind of drifted away from comics for a while since he was my anchor to keeping current. But he was more of a Marvel, X-Men, Spider-Man guy anyway, so... What does he know?
What did he know?
Batman's the best.
I'm super real quick though. I am super back on board with Spider-Man thanks to the game. Like I can't get enough Spider-Man content all of a sudden because the game was so good that I'm like, yes, I'm going to read all these terrible 90s story arcs.
Let's just say the man bought a Christmas themed sweater that is Spider-Man. It is amazing.
Yeah, it just better get here in time.
It better be here in time.
For her end of year office party.
It's only the 23rd of October.
Christmas party?
Well, yeah, but it's a pre-order and it's supposed to ship from the UK at like the beginning of December. So we shall see.
Yeah, no, you should be all right. The UK, it's only a 5-hour plane ride.
Okay.
It's fine. So this was so Long Halloween was the follow-up to Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Halloween Specials, which was later printed as Haunted Night by Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. And basically, from my understanding here, essentially the background is that at San Diego Comic-Con, Archie Goodwin, who was an editor for DC Comics, basically went up to Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale and was like, "Hey, you guys have done some Batman stuff. Do you want to do some more?" And they were like, "Yep, sure." And essentially that was the genesis of the story. It's a standalone story. It doesn't really have any particular ties into continuity. There are a few bits and pieces that kind of go back to the one that you and I did for our very first episode, which I can
year one.
Year one, that's the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple ties.
Oh, sorry. I just noticed that our edition is actually dedicated to Archie Goodwin.
Okay.
So he must have passed by the time this collection came out.
You'd have to assume so. Is mine? Yeah, mine is dedicated to the memory of the magic.
I think I got
Archie
you
Goodwin.
the same issue. I don't know if it's the same printing, but it is definitely... Oh, no, yours... It's the same cover, but yours is like clearly a newer printing.
So The Long Halloween was a massive success when it first came out, reaching the New York Times bestseller list, critically acclaimed, all that sort of wonderful, wonderful stuff. It was also, and should you read it, and, should you obviously listen to our podcast, which you should do, it heavily, heavily influenced The Dark Knight, the second film of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. Like, the parallels are enormous.
Yes, rereading this, I was like, oh my god, I forgot how much they took from this book for that movie.
Yeah.
Because we rewatched it recently.
Tim Sale, the artist for The Long Halloween, is an incredibly prolific writer. I could list everything that he's worked on, but we'd be here for a very, very long time. But a lot of his work is with Jeph Loeb, a lot of Batman, some Wolverine, Spider-Man, Hulk Gray, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue. So, a bit of a theme going on there.
The ones that Brittany and I like, but that nobody else seems to.
Daredevil Yellow is one of my favorites and holds a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Jeph Loeb, on the other hand, used to be a producer and writer on Smallville and Lost, and also holds principal writing credits for Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and God. Teen Wolf.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah, I forgot about the Teen Wolf connection.
So
he was also a writer and executive producer on Heroes, and in 2010, he became the executive vice president of Marvel Television.
Wow.
In addition to that, he is a 4-time Eisner Award winner and has written Spider-Man, Batman, Hulk, Captain America, Cable, Iron Man, Deadpool, Daredevil, Supergirl, The Avengers, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, a lot of fingers and a lot of pies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Batman.
So, fun fact, that's another duo then with Loeb and Sale is Heroes, because all of the artwork in Heroes, in the original season 1, where there's the artist that lives in the loft, all of that artwork is Tim Sale. Every single piece.
Yeah.
Damn, now that's a fun fact.
Yeah. Also, fun fact about Tim Sale, super nice. We've met him multiple times at cons. In fact, our copy of this is signed with a cool Joker picture. Mm-hmm. But we found out from kind of reading some of his work and there's always those little fun snippets in the back and stuff that he's colorblind. And that's why some of his color work was so unique when he was starting out. And people were like, wow, I really like your color choices. And he's like, okay, that's cool. Like they all kind of look great to him, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't color his own stuff.
Yeah.
His stuff is colored by other people because he is colorblind, which I have his black and white books, both of them. His original one, which is pretty small, and then his gigantic one that came out probably 10 years ago or so, with all of his art in it. And he was fully colorblind. Well, not fully colorblind, but he is colorblind, so it makes it really hard for him to color everything.
Also, fun fact, Brittany has the first ever drawing that he did of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, dude.
She was like, hey, because you could pay to like have him draw a character. Or I don't even know if he charged you. I think he did.
It was a commission. I paid good money for that thing.
So you commissioned him and you were like, can you do Harley? Because he does every other Batman character. And he said, I will, but I've never drawn her, so go find a comic of her at one of these booths and bring it back, and I will draw her. Because this was a little pre-smartphone days, so you couldn't just, like, hop on and get a picture online.
Probably 12 years ago.
So we found, you went to one of the booths that sold old comics and found one that you liked a picture and brought it back. So, yeah, we have framed in our house his first ever drawing of Harley Quinn. So if that's not a fun fact, why are you even listening to this podcast?
Damn.
I like me some Harley Quinn, and I like me some Tim Sale, and I wanted his Harley Quinn. And she's gorgeous and lovely, and she hangs on my wall.
Damn, guys. I'm going to have to just hang up my hat, because you whoop my ass with those fun facts.
This was the era where we were doing comics. Like, my brother and I were publishing our own comics. So we would have booths at, like, Seattle, Emerald City Comic Con and stuff. So we met a lot of really cool people because when you're in early, like before the crowds, and you're just walking by, you can just kind of stop and chat.
This is back before it was at the convention center.
Right, this one was small.
It was across from Safeco Field. This is when it was small.
So it was really easy to just be like, oh, hey, how's it going? I like your stuff. And turns out when you compliment a comic artist or writer that you enjoy, they usually take that in stride and are very excited to talk to you.
Yeah. So I have a cool
Weird.
well, not a cool, but I have a funny Tim Sale story that also includes some fun facts.
Okay.
That I found out because of this story. So one of the years at the con, I think it was maybe our second year there. I don't remember exactly. It was our first or second year. And we had our issue of Random Pirate Comics. And so for Here They Read Robots, and I wanted to give Tim Sale a copy just because, we were big fans. So it was at the end of the con, end of the day, everybody was winding down, all the con goers were gone. And he was standing at his booth talking to some dude. I don't know what dude, but I walked up behind them with my issue, politely, quietly, like waiting my turn to talk to him. And I come up on him as he's talking to this dude, and he's like, yeah, I really like girls in glasses. And he's going on and on about this. And then he turns around, and there I am standing like 22-year-old me with my glasses, long hair. And he just kind of looks at me like, oh, crap. Which, And then I'm like, I have a comic book for you. So yeah, Tim Sale likes those girls with glasses.
Mm-hmm. Damn. And if that's not the funnest fact of all, I don't know what is.
All right. So we want to jump into Chapter 1, Crime. So
I guess so.
I guess.
Honestly, I'm just really taken with the idea that it could be a future segment on the show, like when we're finally multi-millionaires and famous worldwide, that we could just tweet at comic book artists and writers and be like, what do you look for in a partner? Just so we can say on our show. And they're like, oh man, I really like titties. They're like, oh man, I really like redheads. Then you can be like, okay, no, so fun fact about, Jeph Johns. He really likes girls in thigh-high stockings.
I mean,
also, he did some Green Lantern stuff.
Right. All right. So
anyway.
Let's get into this.
I feel like Jonah was less than impressed with that.
I'm eager to talk about comics is all. All right. So Chapter 1 opens with Carmine Falcone, mob boss of Gotham. He's the big cheese, the big dog.
The big cheese.
The one that all the other mobsters want to take down to take his place. He is actually working on a new scheme to launder some money, and who should he go to but Bruce Wayne to see if he can get his support during this whole banking thing that they're they're wanting to take him on as an account because he has so much money. But Batman, Bruce Wayne being Batman knows how dirty his money is. So he's like, nah, we're not doing this.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. But it's during this wedding that he has paid for all the expenses for his nephew, because his nephew, I believe, was going to like rat him out and then had a change of heart at the last minute because he was
pretty much
paid off by, it's like, oh, he was going to testify and now all of a sudden he's getting married and is having this giant wedding and everything's paid for and he's going to have like a several month long honeymoon where he's out of the country. It's weirdly timed, I guess. And then, of course, Carmine is not happy. He is got, his goons are like, okay, you want me to go beat up Bruce Wayne? And they're like, nah, let's not do that.
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah. And then we get this whole story has a lot of, Bruce, Selina, and Batman, Catwoman stuff where they always kind of metaphorically and also, literally dance around together. This happens multiple times. So.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Is it ever really, it's never expressed if they know the other's secret identity.
Right. Not
it's
in
always
this one.
It's always kind of alluded or danced around that maybe or maybe they don't know.
Yes, very much so. Like they never, neither of them say like, well, this is clearly Bruce Wayne or this is clearly Selina Kyle. Like, all we know is Batman likes Catwoman and Bruce Wayne likes Selina Kyle. So, you'd think the world's greatest detective would have put the pieces together, but maybe he's not quite there yet, I guess.
I don't know. My opinion at the beginning, they don't. At this point, anyways, in the story, they don't know.
Yeah. So at the wedding, Harvey Dent, who is still just Harvey Dent, not Two-Face yet, he's jotting down all the license plate numbers of all the different vehicles so that he can kind of track who was invited to the wedding, since it's, 90% various mobsters and stuff. Carmine sees that he's there and, it basically has him beaten up by a bunch of goons, but he's saved by, Bruce and Selina. He's grateful, but he's kind of an ass towards Bruce, who's like, hey, you should come and hang with us. He's like, no, I don't really hang out with your highfalutin high society types.
Yeah. He's like, hey, you were getting the shit kicked out of you. You should probably be really careful. And hey, do you want to come and like hang out with us? And he's just like, no, I'm fine. I have real work to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, of course. We know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, so, our perception is maybe a little colored.
Exactly. There's a lot of winking because of that.
Can I say one of the things I love at this point, too, is, like, how buff Selina Kyle is? Like, Did you notice that? Like, in the beginning here, where she's in the, like, tiny little black dress, that woman is ripped.
Yeah, she's real strong.
I mean, she'd have to be, but I love it because it's obvious she's ripped.
Yeah, she's doing, like, crazy acrobatics and all that stuff later, so it's good that they drew her appropriately to that.
Yeah, she does Zumba.
Exactly. So back at the police precinct, wherever they hang out, Jim Gordon basically is trying to talk to Harvey about not taking these needless risks against Carmine, because he's like that's not how we're gonna get him. Like, we need to think this out. Like, Gordon is all like throughout this whole book, the level-headed one that tries to ground everyone and be like, okay, if we're going to take down this guy, we need to actually like think through our actions. Whereas Harvey just wants to like even more than Batman wants to just like go in like fist swinging,
Yeah. Batman loves justice in a tender way. Harvey just wants to like do justice from behind because he's too keen.
Yeah. He just needs to, like, take a cold shower and
damn straight he does.
Calm it down a little.
Every conversation that Gordon and Dent have throughout the comic, Gordon's like, hey, maybe we should do something calm. And Dent's like, no, we gotta take the fight to them. And it always ends with Gordon being like, can you not be like this?
So that night, Batman and Catwoman are both attempting to break into Carmine's house, but because they kind of get stopped because the other one is there, the goon squad find find out they're there, and kind of they have to make a break for it after taking the goons out.
The double page spread of Batman and Catwoman, kind of like facing off against each other, and Catwoman saying like, "I don't have time for this." Gorgeous spread, so good. Like just both characters incredibly well rendered, and the kind of art that you could like you could just take the text away and just be like, "I'll just take the art, thanks."
Yeah.
Again, both of them ripped as hell.
Yes.
Ripped as hell. Yeah, she has like abs for days.
I know, it's great.
Yeah. So we also get introduced to Salvatore Maroni, who is the chief rival of Carmine's turf. So they do this thing where they're like kind of civil to each other when they're at these gatherings, but they just want to shoot each other in the face. Like, that's really all they want to do.
And I do love how Carmine rocks up and he's like, "What's happened here? This is terrible. Like the place has been broken into. Batman and Catwoman. And then Maroni just like pops up out of nowhere and he's just like, "Wow, you really fucked this one up. Gee, he's getting old there."
He's a huge ass to him. But Carmine ends up putting out $1 million bounty on each Batman and Catwoman. Meanwhile, Catwoman's been evading Batman and is able to escape like always. She always is able to get away, it seems like. And Batman then meets up with Gordon and Dent, and the three of them pledge to rid the city of Carmine Falcone. The next day, the board of Gotham City Bank tell Bruce to pound sand, as you put it in our notes, and that they will, in fact, take Carmine's money. So Bruce, which, Batman, pays a visit to the bank chief and scares him into resigning. So that gives Bruce enough sway to tell them to screw off. Like,
if Bruce were not a man of morals, he could do some very dodgy things here.
Yeah. Carmine has his nephew Johnny kill the bank chief, and Johnny is subsequently killed by an unknown assailant who leaves behind a gun and a pumpkin. Gordon, Harvey, and Batman wonder who killed Johnny, and so, using information provided by Catwoman, Batman and Harvey set fire to Carmine's unlaundered money, which is the scene of Joker burning all the money. This is where it comes from. Except it is Batman and Dent.
It's basically like it's when you look at like the warehouse, the pile of money, and it's the scene from the movie is just lifted from this, but the characters have just changed. Yeah.
And he's like, you can't, like, life means nothing to this guy. The only thing that's going to make him take notice is burning all this money, because he's been stockpiling months and months and months of money that he hasn't been able to launder. So it's just an entire warehouse stacked to the ceiling with money. And Harvey's even like, man, what if we just took this money? Just kidding. JK,
lol, go Batman.
He does that a lot throughout this, by the way. Like, where you can already see his, like, mobster-esque tendencies coming through.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you see his dark side before it becomes its own personality, for sure, in this one, which I thought was a good touch.
It's just like, hey, what about crimes? What about legal things?
I stopped those.
I'm the district attorney. This is worrying behavior.
Yes, for sure. So that night, Dent returns home thinking all is well. And his wife is like, hey, now that things are settled down, maybe we should try and have that kid we keep talking about, because this keeps coming up over and over again as well.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, and by the way, you got this package. And then their house explodes because it was a bomb. And that's the end of chapter 1. So Kieran, Brittany is over here waiting on pins and needles to hear what you thought about this first issue.
I thought this first issue was friggin' cracker. It was so good. It does. I mean, even if you didn't have Batman and Catwoman in it, it would still be a great first issue of just a crime comic. All the antagonists are set up excellently, and there's this real kind of criminal conspiracy going on. The atmosphere of Gotham is so on point. Like, just if you've ever read a Batman comic before and you kind of know what Gotham is about, that kind of seedy noir, Chicago basically, that kind of vibe that it has going on. I mean, the art and the writing captures that perfectly all in that first issue, and you get like such a feeling for the setting, and and it paces along so well, and the paneling is done really excellently, so everything is in its place, and it moves along so well. And if I was getting comics when I was 3 years old, all the way back in 1996, I definitely would have pooped my pants and asked for the second issue. So, a really, really good first issue.
Brittany?
Oh, I love this issue. One of the things I love about it, too, which is one of the things I love about the story, the primary focus is not the normal, Joker, whatever. It's not the freaks. It's the gang families, which I love, because I feel like there isn't enough of that in Batman, almost. Like, that's why he got started. It wasn't because of the freaks that he got started. He got started because the gangs and the mob bosses ruled Gotham. And I love that. That's what this is actually about, is Carmine and the Vitis and Salvatores and all of them, rather than it being about Joker and, Two-Face and all that. Not that they aren't eventually in it, but the focus was not that to begin with. Yeah.
He is in this story. He's not really he's not a superhero fighting supervillains. He's a costumed vigilante just fighting just regular crime. And
it's a good take. We've seen it since then more often, I would say, because this one being influential, and also this is also very in line, I think, with what the animated series was doing at around the same time, and that's a good, that might be why this one was such a natural fit, since I watched that show all the time, and then this was like tonally very similar, which I really liked. So this is, when I think of Batman, like, this is kind of my calibration point, is like how he behaves and stuff in this story arc.
Yeah.
All right. So, Kieran, you want to take issue 2?
Can I just say I love in the final panel of this issue, which is the exploding house panel, the pumpkins flying off the porch and exploding as well.
Yeah.
It's just that little detail where it's like, they don't have to be there. I just love it because there's just these pumpkins flying off, and like one of them's clearly just exploding from the force, which is fantastic.
Yeah, the jack-o'-lantern is barfing explosion, it looks like.
It's very good. All right, so that'll take us into issue 2, Thanksgiving. The very sharp amongst you will notice a pattern here. It was Halloween, and now it's Thanksgiving. Interesting. Who's to say what that means? Harvey Dent is dead. At least that's what Batman declares to Mickey the Mink, a suspect in the bombing of Harvey Dent's house. He is also a suspect along with Donny Boy, Jimmy Slick, Dapper Kevin, and Kevin 2 times. It is, of course, also Thanksgiving, so everyone's at the precinct during Thanksgiving, which is a very sore point. Batman tells Mickey that they know he bought the nails used in the bomb, and so we flash back to Batman chasing Mickey through Gotham and into the sewers. Batman fights Solomon Grundy, but he still manages to nab Mickey. Mickey actually confesses to the crime, but says that Dent deserved it because everyone believes that he killed Johnny on Halloween. Gordon wonders why, and Batman says it's because they're afraid of someone powerful. On cue, of course, we then see Carmine promise his sister Carla, who is Johnny's mother, that the situation is being, quote, handled. Mickey then clarifies the plan with his gang, and they all confess to the crime. But the confession is too well rehearsed. It's then revealed that Mickey is in fact Dent, who is alive, and that they were trying to get the gang to implicate Carmine explicitly. The plan is completely unsuccessful, however, as the entire gang makes bail in less than an hour, and at the end of the issue, the entire gang is killed over their Thanksgiving meal by a mysterious killer with a baby bottle nipple over the gun.
Yep. So this one I thought was interesting to show that the other, like you were saying, the freak characters, Solomon Grundy being like a weird undead monstrous dude, is like, yeah, he's already a thing in Gotham. He just lives in the sewers and kind of keeps to himself. But if you go down there, he will rip you in half.
Casually.
I thought this one was interesting, although the mask technology is very Mission Impossible. Like, how did they have that? technology, or is Batman just really good at makeup work? I don't know. Maybe it was Alfred. I don't know.
Harvey like tears the face off. Like he completely takes it off. And it's like, oh, it's Harvey. But it's like prior to that, there is totally unrecognizable.
His family is, the guy's family doesn't recognize that this dude is not the same guy. It's like a guy wearing his face as a mask.
Yeah.
Well, if you do actually look at those panels, when he's in the holding cell, the lighting is really dark and they never actually clearly show his face in those panels. He is in shadow the entire time.
So maybe it's actually really bad.
Light.
Maybe it's really bad.
It may be that he is purposely making it so it's harder for them to see him with it not well lit.
Hey, Mickey, come out of the shadows so we can seize you. No. I'm breaking out right now.
So one of the things I do love, though, is that because it's Thanksgiving, and after Batman's fight with Solomon Grundy, they have that one page of him going down into the sewers and leaving him a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, that was very nice. I really enjoyed that.
And then he's all like, I shared Thanksgiving with someone very special. and it's Solomon Grundy.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this issue after the first one because the first issue is, it's by virtue of being the first issue, it's really big picture and it's really broad. Mm-hmm. And then, it kind of ends with them being like, okay, we're gonna take down Carmine Falcone. We're gonna fix the problem of organized crime. And then, the bomb goes off at the end of the first issue. And so now we have this really narrow focus. We were a very inward facing issue now, so that we can actually see kind of their process of trying to solve a particular aspect of some crime or kind of pin something on someone and, get the evidence and that kind of thing. So I thought it was really interesting to kind of go from this big picture kind of planning and establishing issue to an issue that, in the grand scheme of the overall kind of story and the overall kind of efforts to bust these mob rings doesn't really have a lot of consequences in the end. But it's still kind of interesting to sort of set up everyone's kind of role and their process and stuff and just have a self-contained kind of story within the issue.
Yeah, I dug it.
I also like one of the things which in the first issue it did it too. And then in this one, the actual act of the shooting and the immediate aftermath, it's all in black and white with the exception of one very stark colored item.
Right. The thing representing the holiday.
Yes. So in this one, it's the cornucopia with, the corn and the pumpkins, and the rest of the frames and the 2 pages are completely black and white.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very, very, very cool framing device. Especially because as it kind of goes on, a couple of the murders are more than 1 page. So as soon as those colors go to black and white, it's like, oh, damn, someone's going to die now. I wonder who it is, and I wonder how it's going to happen.
Yeah, whereas Johnny Vidi's, it was all black and white with the exception of the tub, which was red.
Yeah.
The tub water, specifically, because, he had blood into the tub. So that's the one color spot.
Oh, damn, I thought it was cranberry juice.
Well,
it was a bath bomb.
I thought it was just a messy boy, and he was like, oh, no, my cranberry juice. And then he got shot.
He might be a messy boy. You don't know. He's got the money. He could bathe in wine. It's real good for the skin, I hear.
Oh.
All right. So, Brittany, you want to take us into number 3 because that is a Joker-centric issue.
Episode.
Yeah. So this one actually, this whole Long Halloween was popular enough that it spawned a series of action figures, and we have the Joker from that.
I have all of them.
You have all of them? Okay, they're in a box somewhere.
I have all the Tim Sale.
Okay, well, anyway, that just reminded me of it because the Joker from that one is in the Christmas gear. He has the little hat and everything,
Bag.
It's cool.
Yeah. No, I have all of them. I collected them all.
We just need to put up a shelf.
I'm pretty sure I know what box they're in too. So this one, it starts with the Joker, and he's reading this newspaper, Holiday, Gotham, Killer Stalks Gotham, and Who is Holiday, and all that. And he's, of course, just singing, living in a winter wonderland, because why wouldn't he? And so he's freshly escaped from Arkham Asylum, and he's found this family that he is tormenting, which, for no reason at all. He's just stealing the presents and clearly banged in their door with an axe and tied them up with garlands and lights.
He doesn't even kill them.
I was going to say, and isn't he quoting the Grinch? like the entire time?
Yeah, and he slithered and sunk with a most unpleasant smile around the whole room and took every present. Yeah, he's pretending to be the Grinch, so, which is pretty amazing. And then it goes to Gordon and Batman, and they're talking about how, Joker escaped and how that's not good for them. And then Gordon tries to imply that Batman has brought more supervillains to Gotham just because of his presence. And then, of course, Batman's like, they'd be here anyways. So then they speak to Calendar Man.
Shut up. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
They'd be here anyways. Just shut up, Gordon.
You're not real dad.
Because they're dealing with a murderer that clearly involves holidays, they went to speak to Calendar Man. And because Calendar Man is also another one that's totally focused on actual dates and holidays and such. And of course, he does not like the Holiday Killer because
it's cramping his style.
Yeah, it's cramping his style. It's taking his attention away. He's like, no, that's my stick. Shtick. There we go. So he's got less than insightful stuff, and he's telling him about the holidays, and he's like, Groundhog's Day, Ash Wednesday, Secretary's Day, Earth Day, Flag Day, Boxing Day, Hanukkah. He's talking about February's holidays. And of course, Gordon's like, oh, we'll totally have them caught by February, right, guys? And so then, huh? Oh,
I said, whoops.
So they don't get anything from him. Nothing useful. So then Joker goes to visit Maroni, and Maroni's just hanging out in his restaurant, and he just suddenly starts cackling, and of course he gets the nice killer grin and dies at his table. And then, well, no, that wasn't Maroni that died, was it? No, who was that?
It's just some dude.
It's like one of his
It was one of his
guys,
cronies.
yeah.
And then, so of course, Joker comes around the corner holding a bottle of wine, because why wouldn't he be? So, and he demands to know who Holiday is. He wants to know, too, because he's also taking the limelight. So, that evening, Batman goes to interrogate Maroni about what happened, and that's when he finds out the Joker visited him, and what happened there. And then, meanwhile, Dent is recovering with his wife, and his wife is recovering, and they show her she's in a wheelchair, and that they got a new house, and they got a new home, and, then, of course, they go in to see their brand new home, and who's in there but Joker. Because, of course, he would be, right?
Ugh.
So, then him and Joker get into it, and Joker, of course, beats up Dent, because why wouldn't he?
Well, I mean,
right?
Dent gets some pretty good hits, but I think Joker kicks him pretty squarely in the balls to knock him out.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
Why wouldn't he? And, he says, I love this line, he's like, this town isn't big enough for 2 homicidal maniacs, which is his big complaint with Holiday. He's like, no, I'm the only homicidal maniac in this town. Nobody else gets to be.
And it's a really good panel as well, because like he's got like an eye, like a magnifying glass up to his face. So he's got like a portion of his face is like really massive. And Tim Sale's design of the Joker, and can you believe I saw some things online that complained about his design of the Joker?
How?
I wouldn't even dislike this design of the Joker.
I know.
It's my
so
favorite
crazy.
design of the Joker.
It's so good.
His crazy all-teeth smile. I love it.
He's like 50% mouth. It's so
great.
good.
And they're all uneven and different sizes, and he has way more teeth than any actual human has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a shark.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Like, he's
I
kind
love
of like
it.
going for like a Cheshire Cat look, I think.
Oh,
was
yeah.
was the idea.
Yeah. It's an incredible design.
No, I love it. He's all long and
How could
lanky
someone online
and
complain about a
pointy.
comic book?
I know,
And
right?
he's
I was
got
like,
that chin that goes like way down.
oh, and like it's so pointy and
His
like
Jay
it's like
Leno chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. But it's Jay Leno, but all teeth.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
imagine
Apologies
that.
to Jay Leno who's listening to this podcast right now.
Yeah.
So it's great. So, he didn't get any information from Harvey because, Harvey doesn't
Nobody
know
knows.
anything.
Yeah, nobody knows
So
who the killer
then
is.
he goes to find Carmine. He breaks into the Roman's penthouse and totally wakes up Carmine and threatens him that if Carmine doesn't find him, if Falcone doesn't find him, Holiday, then he's going to kill everyone in Gotham until he finds him. So, because he's just not very happy about that at all. So then he steps on Carmine's place, and Milos comes out, which of course is Carmine's, like, right-hand man, and attempts to take out the Joker, but Joker escapes and just, like, throws a deck of cards at him. And while Milos is down, that's when it fades to black and white. Mm-hmm. Joker drives off, and in the very next panel, you see the tip of the gun with the baby bottle nipple on it. And then he gets shot, and they leave a snow globe.
Also, we didn't mention the killer is also leaving behind the gun every time.
Yes.
It's always a .22 caliber. Yeah. The same gun, but not the same, or the same make and model, but not the same physical gun.
With a taped handle, filed off serial numbers, everything.
Right.
So it's a different gun every time.
Must be someone really rich to throw away a handgun like that.
I mean.
I know.
And then in this panel, it's just the one snow globe with a little snowman inside is the only thing of color. Damn. And then Joker, the very end is with Batman looking over his body, saying, that the Roman's personal bodyguard died on Christmas Day. And then I love this last panel because it says, "Have a Merry Christmas, Joker. It will be your last."
Because I'm going to murder you this time.
Probably.
So, Kieran, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was really good. It was great. I think because I love this interpretation of the Joker. He's just super crazy but not in an obnoxious way.
Yeah. Maybe you were thinking the same thing I was thinking. Like, a lot of people that write the Joker, I don't think do a very good job of it. And
nope. A lot of people
I think
really
it's because they have a different idea of him being crazy, and I think this is one of the reasons why I think it bothers me so much is because they've nailed it so well in this book. And like I said, this book is kind of my calibration point. Yeah. This in the animated series and both versions of Joker in those is amazing and exactly what I think of when I think of the Joker. And then Suicide Squad comes out and you're like, that's not the Joker.
Ooh, wow.
Suicide Squad got a lot of things wrong. You don't want to go down that path.
That movie is so bad. We did
a whole podcast about it.
Yeah, we did. This issue is really good. I think it does a good job of kind of like it's similar to the second issue in that it's kind of like a little slice of like what's happening around the Holiday Killer, and it only kind of like really ties it back and kind of ramps it up at the very, very end. But most of the issue is just kind of following the Joker around as he like beats people up and breaks into their house and just demands to know who the Holiday Killer is. I think it's just really enjoyable because they managed to get the Joker so well in that like he is crazy and he is quite psychopathic in many ways, but he's not totally irrational. There's right. Clear reasons behind why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Other than just, he's wacky.
One of the things that bothers me when a lot of people write him is his like senseless murdering. And like in this, he's murdering specific people, like the family he doesn't murder.
No, and he ties them up and
the
he
mobsters
steals their
he does.
tree.
And it's not that he's above killing innocent people because his next plan is to like crop dust and murder everybody. But the thing is with the Joker, he won't just kill someone if he doesn't think it's funny. There's actually a whole bit about that in Neil Gaiman's like Whatever Happened to the Batman or whatever. It's like about like Batman dies and all of his villains are like eulogizing him. Yeah, that one. And he's like the guy he has park his car or whatever. He's like, "Don't kill me, man." He's like, "I wouldn't kill you unless it was funny." And where would the joke be in that? That's like, it's like, come on, man. Don't you know me at all?
I'm so insulted.
Well, I mean, from a viewpoint, it is much funnier to just wrap these people up and tie them up with their stuff and steal their tree and all their stuff and,
then leave.
And leave and pretend to be
the Grinch.
Than it would be to kill them.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's not funny.
That's not funny. It's much funnier to leave them alive.
I mean, I don't remember which crossover like which event thing it was where all the villains team up and are gonna win against all the heroes, but they didn't include Joker. And when he talks to Lex Luthor, he's like, why didn't you include me? And his response is, the Joker's too wild. And, and he's like, that's not funny. And then he like destroys their entire plan and helps Batman.
It's so great. Their whole plan fails because they piss off the Joker by not including him.
Yeah, it was very good. I just wish I could remember which comic.
Yeah, it's familiar to me as well, and I can't remember
because
either.
I know it. It's somewhere.
I'll have to look that one up and get back to people. All right, so issue 4, New Year's Eve. Joker is flying a big old plane above Gotham to ring in the new year, but Batman, of course, tries to stop him. He climbs up on the plane. It's a crop duster, as we mentioned a minute ago. But of course, he's had to repaint it to be Joker themed because, he always has to do things with style.
Where does he find the time to do these things?
I don't know. I guess he's got a lot of time on his hands. It's not like he has a job.
Get a job and a haircut. Goddamn hippie.
Yeah. So that same evening, Vernon, who we find, or I don't know if this is the first time we've met him or if he's been in the background before, but he's Dent's assistant, right?
Yeah, I thought he was in the background of the first issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the first time he's had
It's had a name.
A walk-on part, as they say.
Sure. He tells Dent that he's made a connection from Carmine to Bruce Wayne. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, as Batman, is fighting the Joker above Gotham City. And this has one of my favorite scenes where Batman has climbed up onto the plane and is up over top looking down on Joker. And Joker's hunkered down in the seat with the old timey aviator goggles on.
Yeah.
And that really sells the Tim Sale design of Joker with the giant smile. Yeah. It's like a profile. You get a full profile of how insane he looks.
Yeah. And his eyes are they're a little bit tinged with red and have these spidery little black veins in the corner.
Yeah.
And he looks so he doesn't necessarily look, insane or anything. He looks strung out and just on edge.
Completely. He hasn't slept in 4 days or something.
Because he's been too busy painting a fucking plane.
Well, that takes time. I'm sure you got to use a certain kind of paint so it's not too heavy. He's a busy man. He's got a lot of things going on. A lot of hands and a lot of pies.
Yeah, it's a very good spread.
So they're fighting above Gotham because he's trying to crop dust everyone to death. Meanwhile, below, Carmine is hosting a swanky party on a yacht and is bitching about Holiday and how he, he wants to be the one to take him down and all that because it's his men that keep getting killed. His sister shows up and they fight and she goes outside to cool off after their fight and sees Alberto, which is one of Carmine's sons who he wanted to keep out of the business, get gunned down by Holiday. At the same time, Dent kills the mood at his house where the Gordons are over, by telling them, or is this that part or is that later? Maybe I'm getting my...
No. It's
okay. Right. That's when they're having their little holiday party. Cause it's kind of showing they're such workaholics. They don't really have anyone else besides they have their wives and
each other.
They have each other, and then the Gordons have a baby at this point, I think. Is this when they have the baby, or is that later? I can't remember.
The baby comes along later, but I think she might be pregnant at this point, or about to be.
Okay. So yeah, they kind of only have each other, but yeah, he tells Gordon hey, we need to talk about Bruce Wayne. Which just totally buzzkill about this whole party.
Yeah, it's Happy New Year then, I guess.
Yeah. It's could we, and even, they're always we agreed we would have one night off from talking about business. Even the wives are so what do you think they're talking about? And then they're both no, we're supposed to not talk about this tonight. This was our one night to just chill.
Meanwhile, in the kitchen, they're talking about business.
Yeah. Yep. Those sons of, and back in the skies of Gotham, Batman, pulls some pretty slick moves and grapples onto the plane, is able to climb up and defeat Joker. As you would expect. And we get a really cool shot of him having taken down the Joker, standing triumphantly. And then immediately following that, we see Carmine has found his dead son on the beach. And while we do have evidence from Kieran that this page exists, our edition doesn't seem to have it.
Yeah, which is super weird.
No possible explanation.
Yeah, we may have lost a page. This is a very well-loved copy that we've reread several times, so it's very possible the binding has come a little loose. So, bit sad about that if true. Maybe you have the special expanded edition where they added that one page.
Yeah, where they added that one page and they're like, oh shit, we actually forgot to put it in there.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What?
Was that cut content in the back?
Yeah.
Oh, so they did restore
They
it.
restored it. That's originally cut content.
So your edition is fancier.
So in the back of mine, because I'm like, I've seen those panels before. They were like, there's no body, no body, no body. And it's supposed to be that they never found a body in the original version. So in this, yours, which must have been the re-added page, can I see it again? Out of curiosity. I know that people can't see it, but I can. Yeah, that's totally re-added in it. So in the back of ours, it has those pages, but they're all in black and white.
They're just
and
the pencils.
They're just the
Yeah.
pencils.
Interesting.
And it was that it was cut from the final printed version due to length.
Fun fact, the restored version has extra content.
Yeah, and it says here this epilogue to New Year's is shown here for the first time.
Oh, interesting.
And features the original appearance of Jasper Dolan, the Gotham City coroner, who was inspired by Will Eisner.
Okay, well, you learn something new every day about Batman, specifically.
So this one, your version, so if you have a newer version, it has those pages.
Well,
whereas if you have an older version like ours,
Yeah.
an older printing, it's not in there.
Okay, well.
So, hey, that's pretty cool to find
So
out.
I have to say this was a super fun issue. I really liked the Joker Batman fight on the plane was super cool, and I don't know, it just had that essence of a fun Batman fight, like the high flying, like sense of danger was there because they're way up in the air, and you know he's got his grappling hook, and that's kind of the only thing that saves him in this fight from falling to his death. And of course, it's got all the hallmarks. Joker thinking he's won, and then getting punched in the face a bunch of times.
Yeah, no, I thought the sort of the swanky party on the boat and people being like, oh, keep your friends closer and your enemies, even closer, and sort of that kind of play. And then, at the same time above in the sky, Batman kind of looming over the Joker and kind of doing barrel rolls and grappling hooks and things like that. It was it's a contrast of like two of the really good things about Batman stories, that kind of high society crime and interplay, and also fighting a clown in a plane that's going to crop dust the city to death.
Also, I noticed this time, because now it's, post Incredibles world, where his cape keeps getting caught in the propeller, and all I could think was, no capes!
No capes!
Because that almost kills him in this fight, which I thought was hilarious, because I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a fight where his cape betrays him like this.
No.
Well, that final panel, the cape is gone.
Yeah, it's completely shredded by
It's just shredded, and it's gone. It's just him standing, which he looks so weird without the cape.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, there's too much
Yeah,
there.
whenever
I don't like that.
when I've played the Batman, like, Arkham games, whenever there's like the alternate costumes and it's one of the weird ones that doesn't have a cape, it's always so bizarre looking to me. Like, it's Batman, where's his cape?
The caped crusader. I mean,
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now he's without the cape, he's just a dude with his underwear on the outside.
I mean,
which, I mean, like, still awesome. Great.
All right. So issue 6, Kieran, is this on you?
It is me. It's issue 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's chapter 5.
Oh, excuse me. I jumped way ahead.
Valentine's.
I was scrolling down too
Day.
far in my notes.
Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day.
Hell yeah. So, issue 5, Valentine's Day. Gordon and Dent come over to Bruce Wayne's house, which is also Batman's house, to see Bruce. While there, Dent asks if Carmine ever visited Bruce's father, Thomas. Alfred says that Bruce is out getting it on, but they can come back later. Which was kind of an awkward scene because they just really want to talk to Bruce Wayne and basically accuse him of doing crimes, and Gordon's very uncomfortable and Alfred's just deflecting super hard.
Yeah.
So instead of making the beast with two backs, Bruce Wayne, who is also Batman, is in fact trying to interrogate Carmine Falcone in a graveyard as he gives flowers to his dead son. He's interrupted by Catwoman and gives chase to Catwoman. And then we
also repaired his cape. Oh.
He also repaired his cape. Yes. No. Well, I mean, obviously, that was part of the cut content as well, but it wasn't restored in this version.
Mm-hmm.
So we then get a sweet little match cut to Bruce and Selina, and some of you will notice that they are actually Batwoman and Catwoman also. So they're out on a date now, and Bruce has his hand cut on a rose given to him by a stranger, and no one is concerned about this whatsoever. What does give us cause concern is the fact that it turns out that Dent's assistant Vernon is actually in the pocket of Maroni, who is seen giving him a big old bribe and being like, you keep me appraised of what Dent and Gordon are up to. And he's like, they're definitely going to come after you because they think you're the weak link in this whole shebang.
And that's some pretty fat stacks, I have to say. For,
that's a lot of money.
This is one of those, like, what would you say, like 40s era style, like noir-ish ones. So it's like, man, that's a whole heck of a lot of money back now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a whole lot of money right now. I'd like some fat stacks like that.
Yeah, same.
Just work for the mob.
Those are all
I've been saying
$100
this.
bills, and he's got like at least 3 there. So,
oh, goodness,
it.
Vernon's eating steak tonight. But
he's gonna have veal. It's the best in the city.
It's the veal, the best in the city.
Yeah.
But Maroni is brought back down to ground quickly as a car full of his goons is shot at and blown up right outside his restaurant. He declares war on Holiday and shakes his fist at the sky, and the issue ends as Gordon and Dent go home to their wives with boxes of chocolates, and Bruce goes home to poison Ivy.
Dun, dun,
what?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. This was the last couple pages of this issue. Mwah, so good.
Yeah. Again, love his design for Ivy. His like take on the villains I'm just always loved because she's made of plants more than any other design of her I've ever seen. Like there's
she doesn't have hair, it's just Ivy.
Yeah, it's just constantly
That's
like
just
growing
everywhere.
out from her.
Yeah. She's really just she's in the plants. She is the plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I love her line where she's like, "That's it. You know you can't resist me. No man can."
Yeah, and she's like
so
swallowing Bruce.
I also like the little tiny heart underneath their signature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the last panel.
On the last panel.
The Loeb sale little signature that's on every one of these.
Because they're boyfriends.
It's very good. Well, I mean, I would assume so. But yeah, this...
my fan fiction.
Yeah. Again, very well paced. Really pushes the story forward. And I really like how the villains are like the traditional... what do you call that? Rogues Gallery.
The Rogues Gallery, yeah.
They are like secondary characters in this story, but it's done in a really interesting way where like, we'll find out that, some of them are just taking bribes because they were broken out for this purpose or they got out. And then he was like, they need money because they just got out of Arkham. So the mob is like, work for us because these freaks. And the other thing I thought was cool was, one of the overarching things that happens in this story is the shift from the traditional gangsters that rule the city to the Rogues Gallery taking over as like main villains in Batman mythology. So
that kind of shift.
See that shift.
Yeah, is really, really well done, I think.
So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but
Probably
to
not.
answer your question, yes, Barbara and Gordon do have a baby because he's in these panels.
Okay.
But the box of chocolates they bring home for Gilda and for Barbara are exactly the same as the box of chocolates left in front of the car by the Holiday Killer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Damn.
Someone bought in bulk. They actually say that about the 22s at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll take us into issue 6. St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Ah, yes. So it starts with Gotham Penitentiary and then like a guard opening the door saying, "Step away from the door." And it's all dark, so you don't know who it is. It's like early parole. You'll be back. And so, of course, it is revealed that it is Carmine's oldest daughter, who's Sophia. And he's like, your family needs you now. So she's clearly been let out for early parole because Falcone needed her home. And she is very large. She's very tall.
Super tall. She's taller than Carmine, and Carmine...
She's taller than Carmine, and her head is twice his size of his head.
Yeah, she's like
she's a big girl.
Yeah, I shudder to think of that birth.
I'm pretty sure at one point in the comic, they show her, like, crushing a melon in her hands.
Well, she crushes a head in her
that's
hands
what it
later,
is.
so we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So then, of course, Bruce Wayne informs the board that they will, in fact, take Carmine's money. And then he walks past Selina at some point, and she's like, Bruce, hello, it's me. And he just keeps walking, totally oblivious.
Yeah. He has kind of this like internal monologue as he leaves the boardroom. He's like, what is it? How could they understand? My mind may be foggy, yet I am at peace, lost in the green. It's like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and if you look in the panels, like when he goes to grab his hat, you can just see the very edge of his cuff. Oh. There is like ivy clearly sticking out.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then the couple panels later where he's getting into his car and all you see is Ivy's hand and her ivy. And she's saying, come to him to get into the car. Which is pretty cool.
He does. Am I right?
Oh.
So.
Because we know that Batman has a penis, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen it.
In
that other book.
So, of course, Dent and Gordon talk about the raising body count because, they've got gang wars and all kinds of stuff happening because, of course, everybody is accusing everybody else. And so because Maroni and Carmine are at war because they believe that Carmine believes that Maroni's backing the Holiday Killer because so far all of the deaths have pretty much just been Carmine's side.
Yeah.
And not Maroni. So they decide to concentrate on Maroni. They're hoping that he'll break and that they can, and Bruce, of course, also wants to take down, Dent wants to take down Bruce because he believes that Wayne is the weak link and part of Maroni. So then the next panel shows, Carla Vitti, who's Johnny's mother, the very first victim. And she's shooting a gun and Sophia goes to visit her. And, they have their loving reunion. And then they tell Carla that they're planning on hitting up Maroni's place the next morning, which Carla is totally cool with this. So then that night at dinner, it's just Bruce, and he's in his mansion, and Ivy's there. They're eating at the long table, nowhere near each other, because when you have a table that long, why not sit at opposite ends? Am I right?
You got to use the whole table.
So. Where is Alfred in all this?
I don't know. I mean, Bruce probably sent him away to go find a lady. So
hey, Alfred, here's $100. Go buy yourself something nice. Maybe meet a lady.
Exactly. So,
Very
and then Ivy's
behavior.
suddenly like, do you feel a draft? And just Catwoman just comes in like a fury and just goes straight for her throat.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, you're mine, Poison Ivy, all mine. Which, I mean, I don't blame her. As far as Catwoman's concerned, that's her man. And Ivy just moved in on her. And that is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I love this whole panel because it's just like Catwoman and she's coming across the table at Ivy. Ivy's clearly pulling away and Bruce is like clearly moving towards them like, oh, because he's
hypnotized.
He's hypnotized by Ivy.
He's hypnotized. It's such a well composed panel. Like it's like a still from a movie. Like it's just, she's so dynamic going across the table, and she's so ripped as well. And
right?
you have like all this Ivy kind of reaching up on the right hand side, all the things from the table spilling across to the left, and this massive fireplace in the background. And it's
all green tones.
It's all
everything
green
is
tones.
A green sepia tones, which is very cool. I mean, even Catwoman, her purple of her suit is a green saturated purple. So it's not her normal color, which is pretty cool.
I have to say, out of all of the Batman stories that I have ever read, this one has by far and away got the best art direction, like of all of them. It's so good.
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah. I like, too, one of the things that really nails too with the art is, anytime it's a super powered person involved, it takes on a very otherworldly feel. in the art, which is not something I remember seeing very, often, or maybe that's, like maybe ever. Like, it's really noticeable in this because it is so unique and it feels right for, like, this is the first actually superpowered, like, person other than Solomon Grundy, who, lives in the sewer with the Ninja Turtles and has pizza parties.
He was born on a Monday.
Yeah. So. And
eats pizza on a Tuesday.
Yeah. I really enjoyed like you said, the art direction just being so well crafted in this book. And yeah, like every little detail, it's like, I can't imagine how long like this 2-page spread would have taken them to get just right,
Mm-hmm. So then, of course, she totally kicks Ivy's ass, and she calls her a weed. That's coming to someone else's yard because it's her yard.
And she calls her a weeb.
A
weeb.
I like the idea that Ivy might be a weeb.
Oh, she totally is.
This is a weeb-free zone.
She's watching the Naruto and the Sailor Moon all the time.
Yeah.
She's a big JoJo's fan.
Oh my god! Can you? I mean, have you seen Poison Ivy? Like with the green and the sort of seductive poses.
She's a stand.
She is. Yeah, Poison Ivy is a stand. Poison Ivy is a stand.
Yeah. So while she's fighting Ivy, Bruce comes up behind her and grabs her. So then, of course, she has to switch her attention to Bruce. And I love this because she's telling him that he's lost control and that Ivy's making him do things that he wouldn't or shouldn't do. That, clearly he is not himself.
Almost like she knows who he is normally.
Normal.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, she knows Bruce is a good man, even if she doesn't know he's Batman. She knows he would never allow Carmine into the banks. Mm-hmm. So, and I love this panel where she rips open his shirt and he's just Ivy completely underneath. Like, he doesn't have chest hair. He's just made of chest Ivy. And I love her reaction of, oh, hell. It's a great, great reaction. Oh, hell. And I also love how she's like, ordinarily, I might enjoy this. And she's just ripping it out, like, as if she's like, yeah, you want it scratched up? I'll scratch you up, baby.
I mean, it's kind of her thing.
It is her thing. And so she gets all the Ivy off of him. And then, by the time she turns around, Ivy's gone. And, but, Bruce is no longer
under control
of the green.
Right.
So then at 5 a.m., we're back to the black and white. At 5 a.m. the next morning, there's another hit, and it's St. Patrick's Day, and a bunch of Maroni's men have been taken out. And it's not by Sophia, but by Holiday. And he has left a leprechaun along with his gun and the nipple, like normal. And then, of course, it shows Sophia rolling up at like 5:15 and being like, somebody beat us to the punch.
She's very upset about this not being allowed to murder people thing.
Well, she even says that this changes things. And then, of course, Maroni sees her pulling away and assumes she's Holiday. And I love this next panel because you see the bat light, and it's on and it's off, and it's Catwoman just on top of the bat signal. And him being like, it's not a toy.
He's so grumpy.
He's wonderfully grumpy. It's why she loves him. It's because he's grumpy grump pants. And he tells her thank you, and she's like, for what? And she's like, Bruce is a friend.
Yeah.
So
wink.
Wink. And she's like, oh.
It's like, and she's like, oh, Batman, you're a terrible liar.
I know, right? So he asks her why she helps, and she says, you'll see in time. And then he basically does his own reminiscing thing about not being in the green anymore, that Poison Ivy's not in his system, and that now he has to fix the things that she made him do. Mm-hmm. So, which is like the bank, his reputation, and he's like, I owe Catwoman much.
Mouth stuff.
And then the very last page is Maroni talking to someone.
Falcone.
And saying that everyone's against society. Oh, sorry, not Maroni. Falcone is talking about how everyone's against this idea. He has a policy of not working with your kind. Because he's a racist. No. What would that be?
I mean, I'm sure he is very racist.
I'm sure he's very racist. He's a mobster.
Metahumans is what they don't like. But they're not called metahumans back then, I don't think. I don't know when they started calling them that in DC.
The metahumanist? I don't know what you would call that.
Well, they couldn't call them mutants because of Marvel.
Yes. It doesn't show you directly who it is, but it's clearly Ivy, because she's talking about how much more they could have accomplished if, well,
I mean, we see Ivy on the floor.
You do. You see Ivy on the floor, you see her hand, and he does say Miss Ivy, but, and he says the one thing he's learned in business is to expect the unexpected.
Bum, bum.
And then it's her trailing her Ivy and walking away.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get into Chapter 7, April Fool's Day. So this one is less like driving plot because, it's a lot of like speculating about who they think the killer could be. So you get like cutaway between Batman trying to solve the case and Falcone having hired the Riddler to try and figure it out. So they're kind of speculating. Well, because he's like, you can solve any riddle. And so we just kind of get everyone's different speculation of like if it were Harvey Dent or if it were Catwoman or if it were Falcone's sister or, all these different people it could have been. But the Riddler can't solve it. So is it Sophia, the daughter? The giant daughter, is like, you should solve this, and starts crushing his head, which is what you were referencing earlier. But as the Riddler is kind of pushed out, like, hey, this is not working out, so they just kind of kick him out of their office. So it goes to the black and white, and you see the shot fired, but then it shows, because it's April Fool's Day, the Riddler has not been shot. He's actually been shot around. So he does, when does a killer not kill? Of course, the answer is on April Fool's Day. So that's the end of that one. So it was kind of a fun, because we're at the halfway point. So it kind of like, okay, remember, here's all the clues. So it's kind of like, because it's a whodunit, you kind of need that refresher of what was happening. And it's like, you could kind of consider it filler, but it also is the point at which some of the characters start suspecting, even Batman's like, wait a minute, it could have been Harvey. There's some things that kind of start to click for people, like how the clues line up with different characters was an interesting issue for me. I thought. Yeah,
I kind of enjoyed it. It was a good little interstitial to have in the middle of the story to sort of recap all the different murders and what had been going on.
I love how it's as, it's supposed to be like Batman thinking about the clues and thinking about Harvey and being like, thinking about how Harvey said, 2 shots to the back of the head, couldn't happen to a nice guy about VD, and then him being like, after letting out the Irish so that way they can, and then them getting shot. And then the final panel is him being like, Harv, your hair's all wet. It's been snowing. When he comes home to Gilda to their Christmas party, and, it's speculating that maybe he was the holiday killer who was out on the lake, on the boat. My favorite part about that is during that scene, he would have been in the air fighting Joker. So how would he have remembered that?
He's got spies everywhere.
That's very true.
I don't know.
Which is something I've caught before, and I've always giggled every single time because I just love it. Because it's like, wait a minute, he wouldn't have known that.
Batman's just kind of speculating, and Alfred's like, you don't know that took place. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure it did.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, he would have come home, and Gilda would have placed a hand on the side of his face, tenderly, obviously, and gone down the side of his jaw, and she would have said, "Hi, your hair's all wet," and then Alfred would have been really weirded out and were left.
I also like this issue because it is the halfway point. It's a good catch-up for anybody, which is probably part of the reason it's a filler, for anybody that hadn't read the first 6 issues, so they can jump in halfway to catch the ending.
Yeah.
Because it catches you up on enough of the story that you could read the rest of it without it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stop there, which is a pretty good stopping point in this book. There's not always a clean point to end, but this one it's kind of perfect because it's like, here's all the clues, and then you can come back to it. Kieran, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mr. K_Bennett. And you can also find my Dungeons & Dragons podcast, which is for Crits and Giggles. That is at for CNG Podcast on Twitter. Jonah and Brittany as well. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on the Twitterverse at Brittany Gregory, because it's real hard to find.
Yeah. Also, hopefully, I mean, unless you sell out of them, you might have a link to an Etsy thing soon on there for some stuff you've been working on.
See.
So check out the Twitter to see if she has stuff for sale soon. She's been doing Steamposium this weekend, but this comes out after the fact, so don't really want to promote a thing that's already happened is the problem.
Yeah.
Anywho, you can find me on Twitter at Spambot, and that's my personal account where I post only the choicest of Garfield memes. But yeah, that's it. We will be back next week with part 2 of The Long Halloween. Thank you for listening to Inks and Issues, part of the Geekly Inc. network of podcasts. You can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/inksandissues. You can follow us on Twitter at Inks and Issues. And don't forget to check out all of the other amazing Geekly shows like You're a Wizard, Harry, and Drunks and Dragons, and Transformation Sequence, and Sayer. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff you should check out. Goodbye? I don't know how to end those. How do you end those?
I don't know. Just listen to Nika's.
I know. Nika, help me. I call upon the spirit of Nika. Where's my Nika strength? She's usually like, didn't get enough of, and then has something witty to say about whatever show it is.
Didn't get your fill of action and adventure in this episode of Drunks and Dragons? Well, why not check out these other Geekly Inc. shows, including Cast of Thrones,
Dang.
Cthulhu and Friends?
Why didn't you do this?
Just to make sure.
Maybe I'll record a better one when I script it, because I don't think I like that
We'll script one and
Need more mutants, metahumans, and monsters in your life? Then check out these other Geekly Inc. shows like Transformation Sequence, Cthulhu and Friends, and Drunks and Dragons. Help us make the show the best that it can be by supporting us at patreon.com/inksandissues, where you can get bonus content, early access to episodes, and can even vote on comics for us to review. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review to help us spread the word. Interact with us on Twitter at Inks and Issues or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Inks and Issues. Now do yourself a favor and go read some gosh dang comics.
Batman The Long Halloween.
Delicious.
Sorry. I like having a beer while we do a podcast, but
there's yeast.
Beer does make me belch, which is very unfortunate.